joining us here on Chime FM. In-house guest, and they are Mr. William Joseph, no stranger to Sundays with George Grant. He is the deputy chairman of the National Development. It's okay. He's going to explain the name of that thing in just a wee bit. It's a long, complicated name, and he has been joined by a representative from the private sector, Ms. Pettifer Lewis, whom, if I'm not mistaken, is the executive director of the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce.
Yes, George. Good morning.
All right. Nice to see you, Pat. And also Mr. Dunstan Campbell, who represents agriculture. Nice to have all of you folks in here. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning,
George.
Thank you.
Willie, you have been with us before. Pettifer has also been with us before. But Dunstan, this is your first visit?
My first visit.
First visit. Nice to have you guys. I want us to start right at the very beginning, and as a result, I'm going to turn to you, Willie, being Mr. Deputy Chairman. In addition to finding out how your trip to China went, you went off to China, didn't you? Not yet? Oh, not yet. Okay, he hasn't gone to China, but I'm sure he's looking forward to going to China. I want you to tell us a little bit about this, the National Strategic Development Plan, or Sustainable Plan. Tell us, what are we really going after here this time, Willie?
Well, thank you, George. It's a very important issue. I think that the first thing to say is that the initiative for this plan came from the social partners, and that we are talking about something that is beyond a mere economic development plan in terms of the scope. It's going to cover economic issues, social issues, issues regarding culture, and so on and so on. So the environment would be one aspect to be covered. So that is the first thing. The scope is pretty broad. That being said, I think we should also talk a little bit about the type of plan that is envisaged. This is important because coming out of our two earlier presentations to the public in the media, we are getting a sense that people need to be very clear as to whether we are talking about a plan that is going to be 200 pages long or whether it is going to be something else.
And remain sitting on a shelf.
Yes. So I want to say that in our contemplation, in our thinking, we are favoring a plan that is solutions driven. Okay, in other words, while we must have some degree of analysis and scholarship and so on, we do not believe that we need to put a heavy load of that into the plan. In other words, all we need is to make adequate use of the research and analysis and so on, but make sure that we nail down the hot priorities and ideas that the people of Grenada want to see reflected in a plan, so that we could move from there then to have some appreciation as to what do we mean when we talk about development, because this is really what the people are concerned about. Dunstan and Pettifer are going to help me on that issue, but we have to be very careful that we offer the people a development plan that does not intimidate them. They feel comfortable about it. They can follow the issues. They would have contributed to the formulation of the plan and so on, and therefore take an interest in it. So that, having said that, I will make a last point, and then my friends will help me. One of the most critical factors behind this effort is the question of winning public confidence. We must have public confidence as a precondition for the successful elaboration of the national plan that we're talking about.
Willie, okay, before you jump in, Pettifer, Willie, you've been around the block more than me, all right? You talk about building confidence, okay? Have you guys had any public consultation so far on this plan?
No, we haven't begun that yet. As a matter of fact, since the process was launched in May, at the end of May, we have been very busy at the level of the steering committee. So let me introduce this properly. There are two bodies that the authorities have put in place for doing the work for this plan. One is called a steering committee. That's a committee that we belong to, and also has representation from 11 other entities in the country. So that's the governance body. It's going to look after the direction of the thing, the policy issues, the values issues, the consultations, the communications, and so on. Those things the steering committee is going to look at. And then there's also a technical working group. Okay, these are the guys who are going to do the writing, the actual writing of the plan. So we will come to the point of public consultations. So far we've been settling our foundation issues.
The point I was trying to get at is that, you're talking about public confidence. The public needs to buy into this and feel that they're a part of it. And I admire the effort being made on the part of you folks in the steering committee, the part of government, the social partners, everybody. It's great because God knows we need a plan. But Willie, the reason why I mentioned a little while ago that you've been around the block a few times is because, Willie, we have come up with plan after plan after plan for just about everything in this country. Willie, a lot of them plans sitting on a shelf somewhere or in somebody's bed gathering dust. Why is this one different, Willie?
Yeah, it's going to be different because this one is going to be owned by the people.
You're saying that the others weren't?
They weren't.
Even though they had
people may have contributed, but they did not leave there with a sense, I'm pretty sure, or a sense or thereafter, a sense that they own this thing. What we are talking about is a plan that is going to be owned by the people. It is going to be accepted at the level of the cabinet and presented to the parliament. If you look at, I shouldn't put it this way, as part of building this public confidence that we're talking about, we have taken, making sure as best we could that the political parties play certain roles in the context of this plan.
And we're going to talk about the political parties in just a wee bit. But for the time being, let me see if we could bring Pettifer and Dunstan in here. Guys, from the private sector point of view, Pettifer, you were going to say something a little while ago?
Yes, I was going to speak to the question of the plan and the fact that we have had several plans before and we have had consultations.
So you know where I'm coming from?
I know where you're coming from. I've been involved in the process before.
Okay.
I know where you're coming from. And the plan has been developed. For example, there was one in 2007 and then it was updated again in 2011. Now I don't know how many of us knows about that and what has happened since. The reality is that it has not been implemented. I think largely because there's no ownership. We have people come, do consultations, and you know what happened to the output. It's on a shelf somewhere. This, we're looking for it to be very different in that we will have national. The plans before, I can't say that they were national consultation. In this one, we're looking at having national consultation. We're having all the stakeholders involved, and this is evident in the composition of the steering committee as well as the technical working group. We also have youth involvement. And what we're going to be doing is having people contribute and as such have ownership. And once we own something, then people would be asking questions as to why this is not done, why this is not done. And the involvement of the politicians, the parties, as Willie said, is going to also put pressure on whoever is in power at the time to pay attention to this plan because it's a plan of the people.
You represent the private sector and through the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. What's the mood like among your membership? Are they excited about this?
I would say that generally, yes, in that the private sector, as you know, very big on long-term planning. And I think if we have something that speaks to what Canadians want, And strategically, the private sector could formulate their plans in relation to the national strategic sustainable development plans.
And that's an operative word, eh?
Sustainable, yes.
I was so happy when the government came back and said they wanted to make sure that the word sustainable was included in there. Good move, Willie?
Yes.
Yes. Dunstan, let me ask you the same thing I just asked her. Is your membership out there, the farmers and all the people involved in agriculture, do they feel hyped up, pumped up about this?
Yes, they're getting hyped up. It's going to take us a little while to do that because, as you know, the farmers are not as organized as the other sectors.
Right.
So we have to sort of introduce that level of organization among the farming community.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who are organized, we are consulting them and they are giving us some very useful feedback. As was said before, I think that there is this ownership that for this plan that I haven't seen before. I know lots of plans have been written. You know, you get a consultant, it's presented, you know the process.
Yeah.
But this time around, it's actually going through a different process, and I think that we can get there.
Okay.
I have the feel that we will get there.
What does the agricultural community look forward most to see coming out of this plan?
Well, you see, as the deputy chair said, Willie said, the plan is solution-driven. But for us, it is also issues-driven. There are some issues that in the agricultural sector that should be on that plan and that should be reflected all the time to guide the agriculture to higher grounds. Well, for instance, land use, water, extension services.
You want to see a land use policy?
A land use policy. And that's a land use policy that's accepted by everyone, right? Land use policy. Because without those institutional and directional, it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. You know, I was remarking recently, commending the government for building roads, farm roads, recently. And I said, well, we need to do that because the agricultural sector needs that. But in addition to the farm roads, you need the policy framework that would protect the land that this road has opened up. Because if it is not protected, that land in the next 2 or 3 years would be lost, would be alienated, housing, right? So we need to have that policy framework, and that's the kind of feedback we are getting from the agricultural sector, that we need to have these mechanisms in place, institutionalized, and the legal framework with them.
And are you confident, Dunstan, that the agricultural sector has people who are willing to make sure that this plan is implemented when we arrive at it?
Yes, I am confident. And the farmers group that we have already consulted, you can see that sort of energy in those groups. And they will ensure that, they would make some noise on the ground.
Edifa, what does your private sector want most out of this plan?
We want to see a base that is created for economic and social development. We want to see an environment where people could progress. The bottom line is that the private sector can't do it alone. We can't solve the problems. The government can't solve the problems. We all have to do it together. And the private sector cannot succeed if the rest of the country does not succeed.
You know, Petifa, what you're saying there is so admirable. We have to work together to make things happen. There's unity and strength, Mr. Joseph? Yeah? Okay. But Petifa, we've been singing that song since before your mom and my mom hatched us. We've been singing that song. What are we going to do differently this time to make it happen?
George, I can't speak for the past. I could only speak for now
and the future
in terms of what we're looking to do. What my observation is that there's a large section of the private sector that is not organized. The small...
Not just the private sector, every sector in this country is a large part.
I'm speaking on behalf of the private sector.
Okay.
Micro and small enterprises. And we are looking at bringing them into the fold,
right,
so that we're stronger, we could speak with a bigger voice, and that would also like if they give an example for the other groups who are not as organized.
Okay.
So the more organized we are, the more we could achieve as a people.
All right. Willie?
Yes, George. I think an aspect of the questions that the very searching questions that you've been putting to the panel.
I have one for you too.
That's fine. I can handle, several things by the grace. There's several things. Yeah, I think for me, it would be very helpful if, as a nation, we step back and ask ourselves, what is the justification? What is the justification for us having a new plan for Grenada? Right? Now, if you look at it very soberly, you're going to find that we've spent 40 years, plus one or two, since our independence. And if you were to take a summary of what has happened with us as a nation over those 40 years, and so that we arrive at a situation that best describes where we are at today, I am pretty sure that many of us Grenadians are not going to be happy with our state of affairs. I want to add to that it is also true that since our independence, no one has taken responsibility for doing this. Nobody has taught us anything about government, about governance, about development, about you name it. Service the nation. So we've really been groping in the dark, and that's why we've come up. Sometimes we miss it, more often than not. Sometimes we hit it. So we have this mixed bag that at the end of the day leaves us in a position where, as a people, we have not moved sufficiently forward and upwards that we would all have preferred. And therefore, that in itself gives us a justification. There's more to it.
All right.
To summarize it, for doing this.
Just before I go to the break here, I want to mention something. I want to talk about something that you mentioned a little while ago about the environment. You said that the environment is also part of this plan. Willie, when you said that, my ears cocked up. That was music to my ears, because I'm no environmentalist, but I'm very concerned about the degradation I see taking place in our environment, okay? Willie, are you guys serious about making sure that we have a plan that really and truly protects our environment? And this question comes to you in light of the fact that I see not just the ordinary Grenadian degrading our environment, but when I see it coming from my government, I become concerned. Are you confident that including the environment in this plan will make a difference when it comes to preservation of our environment?
Well, and the question would be fair regarding every other aspect, every other component of the scope of the plan that we're talking about, right? I think the first basic thing is the question of ownership of the plan. The second thing is to say this, that the priorities that are going to be nailed down in the plan would be the priorities that you and I, as citizens of Grenada, see that we want to see there.
All right, let me sneak a call in here. Good morning, you're on the air. Good morning.
Question of ownership of the plan. The second thing,
Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Grant.
Yes, sir.
I didn't reach far in school. I reached ABC, and that's where I graduated, but I graduated with honors. Now, this National Strategic Plan 2030 had me very confused. I listened to a group the other night talking about it. I listened to the people they were talking about it. I am no more enlightened or no less confused than I had been before. I want to know, have the members of this social committee, as it's called, consulted with their respective membership of the respective group they represent before coming around the table to give their views? What does Plan 2030 mean? Will it start in 2030, 2020, 2018? What interval will it serve? Would it be a 5-year interval, a 10-year interval, a 15-year interval? I want to know. The very committees seem to be confused and only speak abstractly of what we expect. I'd be very glad if they become more
More specific. All right.
Concrete.
All right, sir. Hold on a minute. Let me see if I can get somebody here to answer that. The plan. We talk about 2030. Is that when this plan kicks in, or is the process which we have now begun going to end in 2030?
The latter. The plan is intended to commence in 2015, as the process did actually.
Right.
In
what you guys are doing
February,
now.
in May, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, all of the work that we've done
Right.
since and continuing, so that when we would have gone through the different processes, which the most critical aspect of which would be the public consultations, where we receive from the public what to them are the priorities that they want to see written into that plan. And then we write it up, the technical working group, go back to the public again, wherever in the various communities, sign off on it, approve it. Then that is the process. So let me make it very clear that as we speak today, there isn't a plan. There's no plan. There is no draft plan. We are
Scripting it.
we are setting up the arrangements. As I said earlier, we are laying the foundation to go out to the public to receive their views regarding this thing. But we need at the very onset to be communicated to the public a set of information that would stir the interest in the plan. And that is why another program, we haven't touched it here this morning yet, but we critical to that would be the question of the vision for the plan. That thing that would stir the passion among the people to say, yes, let us go after these things.
All right, let me sneak a corner here. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, morning greetings, Brother George, and your guest.
Yes, sir.
Now, we're talking about this plan again. Now, I wonder how many more plans we want to drop to see if we could run this little island. Because the greatest plan we ever had is the revolutionary plan, which is still is the plan we're working on, but yet are you still trying to chip it or put it in the shred and shred it away? It's the one plan. You know, no other plan could come with this plan. Let's use the plan that they turn back or trying to hold back and keep down. It's the only plan that could work for Grenada. We have been educated in that standard because the only progress we really see after Gary is the revolutionary plan, not the gun plan, not what's the mischievous plan, but we're talking about a proper plan that we have for the land that you can see. We begin from the airport going right down to the NIS and all those that they keep back, all the bus service and everything, and all we are going industrially. What other plan? We have chocolate now, so we start the plan.
Okay.
We have chocolate, so now we look to put the golden apples and maybe the cherries and guavas inside the chocolate now, and with children could get it to go to school.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Pettifer?
Yes, I'll respond to that question, or comment, should I say. The reality is that a lot has happened since the fall of the revolution. We have had a country that is divided in different ways. Now, if we're looking at implementing the positive things out of the plan that he's referring to, it could only get into this plan by consulting the people, which was done in the first place. So if you're talking about getting the things that were in that plan that are beneficial to the people, this is an opportunity for the people to bring it up again and ensure that it is in this plan and that all the politicians pay attention and implement the plan of the people. So we can't look back in terms of saying that plan is there and we should implement it. The reality is that people have moved away from the revolution in different ways, and different people have different positions. So the only way that we could get the things that we want in that plan, whether it is from the revolution or wherever, is for the people to come together, consult, put it there, and have the politicians implement, and we ensure that we monitor and ensure that it is done.
And that's the tough part, Pettifer. Everything you have just said here is absolutely correct, make a lot of sense to me. But you know something? Sometimes we blame government a lot for things that go wrong. But we as a people have failed to do our part. We have failed to keep the governments accountable. We put them governments there, Dunstan. Did you guys read the editorial in the New Today this weekend? The gimme gimme mentality? You should check it out. It's on the Grenada Broadcast website. They talk about that, you know. the public just expects the government to give me. If you give me, cool, you have my vote. You don't, forget about the national interest. You don't, you're out of here. Okay? So, Willie, hold on, because there's also a comment for you on the box from somebody named Loxley Langdon. But I just want to pay some bills here, and then we'll come back with you guys right after this. Time to sleep, darling.
Dad, are there any monsters under the bed?
Not while I'm here. You're safe and sound.
Feeling cared for, protected, and secure. It's a feeling that every Massey United Insurance customer knows. After all, they're in the same safe hands, protected by our financial strength, stability, and experience, and cared for by our team. Now, all our customers are even more secure with the sound strength of Massey. It's a great feeling. Massey United Insurance. To learn more, contact our agent, United Insurance Grenada Agents Limited, at 440-1193.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Oh, boy.
Good morning, caller.
Hello? Yes. Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I've been listening. My question is, based on the research, the consultation, the information gathered from the stakeholders who are in very strategic positions, how can you advise Grenadians, for investment, for instance, for strategic development? What should the executive director of the chamber direct me to, or where can she direct me to for investment in Grenada now? And my second question is, who is funding this committee for their work? Who pays the piper, blows the tune? So I'm very concerned and curious on who is funding this project. Thank you.
All right, caller, thank you very much. Let me start with you, Petifa. You have a response for this gentleman here. He wants to know where you can direct.
GIDC.
GIDC. All right. He also asked a question, Willie, about who's funding this. We heard there's been a lot of speculation about what's going on here because we heard that the Chinese have offered to help us with putting together this plan, and there's been a lot of rumbling on the ground. What can you tell us about that? What's the extent of their involvement?
Well, as far as our knowledge goes at the level of the steering committee, the funding issues are under the direction and control of the government of Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go beyond that. I don't know any other particulars or details regarding sources of funding that the government might pursue. But that is really the responsibility of the government of Grenada.
Okay. So we're not going to tie you guys up with that one. Okay. But I know you also wanted to comment on something a little while ago.
I think my brother on the broad issue of the throwback to the revolution.
Was that your brother or your sister?
It was a brother.
It was the brother?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it should be. Let me reiterate that this plan we are talking about is going to be much wider than just an economic development strategy. One of the components of the plan we're talking about is going to address the state of the Grenadian society.
Mm-hmm.
That is important.
Very.
You see, because there are some big issues in there. If you listen to Prime Minister Rowley now, on the night of his victory, you would have heard him say the following, and I think I could quote it. He said, "We shall be interfering with the school curriculum because we need to have in place a new type of Trinidadian citizen."
You did, eh?
Yeah, what's that effect? Now, we must do the same in Grenada. There are lots of stuff that we at our advancing age and so on in life, given everything that we know about the human setup, perhaps are too old to bend. But we have the common sense and the wisdom to understand and appreciate that if we put our hands and our minds and settle them around our children and our grandchildren, we can help set up for them and with them a new set of arrangements. And when I made the point earlier on about the fact that we were never taught anything about development and governance and service condition, we must do it now. Our 10-year-olds and our 12-year-olds must begin to learn and understand what these things are all about, so that by the time they become active as workers in the economy, as people involved in political parties and so on, they would we bring into these spheres of life different mindsets, different attitudes. That's how we achieve it. We have to go back there and socialize them in these new ways, in these new values. Otherwise, we would not have moved the needle.
All right, before I get Dunstan to let me have his 2 cents on this, let me sneak another call in here. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, George.
Yes, sir.
I've listened to Mr. Willie speak, and I'm very curious and cautious that, knowing his history, coming from NDC, calling out the NDC, being managing a project that has been duplicated by other organizations in Grenada. You have the SDC, you have so much into so many different organizations. And his project, the appearance of it simply duplicating all of this. I'm getting the sense that this is just an initiative in futility, that is just another project that's backing by the political directorates for votes, and nothing is going to come out of it. It seems as though he has followed the direction of others who have left NDC, gone to NNP, gotten a project, gotten a job, and now he's just doing nothing, for the sake of getting some employment.
All right.
Lastly, I'm just disappointed with the private sector's injection, that she is in a committee that is broad and directing strategic development, but she is telling you that for investments go to GIDC. What has she gathered from all her interfacing to she sits in that committee? What can she direct me or anybody to apart from GIDC?
All right, hold on.
That's my question.
Hold on, sir. Hold on. Do me a favor. Would you hold on a sec? Let me get Willie to respond to you first, then I'll get Pettifer to respond to you. And
I want direct answers.
Okay.
Don't beat around the bush.
Well, I am appalled that this particular listener would find it in his heart and mind to say these things. Now, he would know, because it appears that he does know me, that I have served this country for over 40 years. Over 40 years. Every regime since Gary, I have been there. I spent 1 year, not much more than that, as a member of the NDC, and I resigned. I do not now have any job holding with the government of Grenada. I represent the Grenada Conference of Churches on this committee for the steering committee for the national plan. I am not employed by the government of Grenada or by the NNP as a party. So please, I don't understand why there's an attempt to link my very brief membership history of the NDC with my contribution to Grenada on this project. So please, I'm not being paid, and even if I had gone over to the NNP, that would be my personal choice and decision, all right, which you would have to respect.
Okay. Pettifer, let's hear your take.
I want to make this very clear. It is obvious to me that people have not been listening to what the committee is about, and the fact that we're representing various stakeholders, and that our role is not to create the plan, but to ensure that the plan is created by ensuring that there's involvement, there's transparency, and that everybody is involved. Now, the government has an organization that is set up to deal with investment, that's the GIDC, and hence my reference to that body who could give them whatever information they need in terms of investment.
All right, fair enough.
I want to say further that this is an opportunity, and I'm referring to an earlier caller in terms of the revolution and the divide, that this is an opportunity for us all to come together and heal as a nation. Because in order for us to succeed, we need to have mental health, physical health, and spiritual health. And I think in terms of what we're looking at, this is what we're trying to build. And we're not looking to divide the nation, but rather to bring us together. So I think that when we're speaking, we must get our information correct, and we must be objective. And we don't want to create any political divide, because so far, my experience on the committee with all the politicians, the various United Nations Front and the National Democratic Congress and the Alliance of Churches and all, the civil society, that we're gelling nicely and we're working together because we all see that we have the same goal and objective, and that is what we're working towards.
All right, caller.
Yes, I'm here.
Very quickly, sir, very quickly.
Yeah, I am very still perturbed because I know that there has been a Sustainable Development Council that, George, you are involved in. There is an NGO umbrella organization that looks at development. There's a private sector grouping. So I'm just wondering how effective, what is the role of this organization? You have all of those being born and existing. Why are we having a new initiative? Fall back on the private sector. You're sitting on an organization that is implementing development, but you are not able to direct an individual to development. So I'm just wondering how far, strategically, that you are disposed to guide Grenada in the project. Because you're sitting to implement the project or implement a development.
Hurry up, sir, hurry up.
You're not informed of the development sector.
Thank you okay, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's 1:45. I'm going to, by the way, this gentleman mentioned there's a group I was involved with. That's the SDC, the Sustainable Development Council. I was involved with it for about 20 years or more. And as far as I know, that group has never been political. It's a group where people come in and make presentations. We listen and make recommendations to the government of Grenada or the cabinet. That's it. Let's take a little break and we'll come back.
GrenNet Community Partnership Initiative, improving education.
Corporate companies such as GrenNet have given hope and made many dreams into reality by demonstrating their understanding and commitment to the importance of technology in today's classroom. Here at St. Andrews RC School, we are indeed the recipients of a state-of-the-art computer lab. It is truly a blessing and indeed an occasion worth celebrating.
A collaboration of the Government of Grenada and GrenNet.
Hubbard's agency, located on Kirana James Boulevard, St. George, carries a wide range of quality brands, such as Dutch Lady Milk, Danny Chicken Luncheon Meat and Salami, Welch's Juices, Chief Seasonings and Snacks, Rinse Laundry Detergent, Bob, and so much more. For a quality wholesale experience, visit our store today. Our experienced and friendly staff awaits you. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
All right, let me sneak another one in here. Good morning, sir. You're on the air.
Good morning, George.
Hello. Hello.
I'm going to lose you. I don't have much time. Judge, the management of this country is now saturated by remnants of the revolution or presence of the revolution ideology. The question is, before we could really go forward, I want William them to ask the IMF when they would let go Grenada. Thanks. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. And hold on a sec, because there's another call coming in here. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, George, and good morning to your panel.
Where are you calling from, sir?
This question. I'm calling from Brooklyn this morning.
Okay.
All right. This question is directly to my friend, Pettifor, Lois Smith. I know you've been around like I have been in terms of national plans and so on. And some earlier caller mentioned about the plans that the revolution had for the country. Are you going to be looking into those plans? Because I believe that these plans are still around. And going forward, could it be a basis or platform to work on to move forward? Thank you, my dear.
Good question.
Yes, the intention of the committee is to look at all the existing plans that Grenada has. Some of it will include that same plan that I made reference to of 2007 and the update in 11, the growth and poverty reduction strategy, the growth and poverty reduction strategy of 13 and 14, the social compact, and I hope that once we could still find all the information that we have had, because one of the problems that Grenada has is keeping information we seem not to respect information and so properly store it. But the intention is that all the documentation that we have that are available will be consulted. And of course, if we can't find that, of course we have the people who have been there before and know what they want, so it will get in one way or another.
And for the agricultural sector, I think I'll have to say the same thing. We would recognize all the plans that were in before, we would look for the good stuff, and then we would distill it and put it in this plan. Sure. Through consultation, of course. So it is not, all is not lost with regards to what was done before. And the other thing that I want to say, this plan is a 15-year plan, right? It's different from all the other plans. It's always 5 years. You know, politicians plan for 5 years because election comes every 5 years. But we want to have a plan that is continuous and rolling, right? So that our development can really be continuous instead of up and down and up and down. So this is what this